I'm 16, it's a normal Tuesday in the winter, and I check my Stripe and I finally see it. I've officially surpassed $500,000. Now, I'm not proud to say that I spent it all, but I am proud to say what I spent it on. Because no, I didn't buy cars, I didn't go on private jets, and I didn't get a bottle service at the club. I did 3 things, and those 3 things are the reason that even if every single one of my businesses goes to zero tomorrow, I will be more than fine. I'll end up rebuilding, and I'll probably end up rebuilding faster than the first time that I ended up just building businesses in general. And no, sit back down, because I'm not going to tell you to go ahead and invest all your money like a 50-year-old into some index funds and stocks. And the thing that kills me about the whole online money space is that I watch people make 500K, $1 million, $2 million, and they have nothing to show for it except a lifestyle that they now have to maintain. They have no foundation, they have no safety net, and they have no skills that outlast the current trends. They just have revenue and expenses. And the moment that the revenue dips, they are absolutely done. I see it every single year. Guys were everywhere in 2023. They're now working minimum wage jobs in 2026 because they spent their money on looking rich instead of setting themselves up for the future and becoming unbreakable. Now, the first thing that I did with my money, and I did this instinctively, I didn't have anyone tell me to do this, but essentially I put back every dollar into getting better. Not into looking better, but into actually being better. So when I was making my first real money at around 14 or 15, I remember my friends being like, oh, yo, Yusuf, what are you going to buy? What are your first big purchases? And I would just be like, oh, guys, like I bought a course with the money that I have. And they would look at me like I was insane. They would tell me like, bro, you could have bought a car with that kind of money and you just spent it on a course. But that's essentially what I kept doing over and over again. I would make money and immediately spend it on learning. I would spend it on books, courses, mentorships, programs. And it wasn't because someone told me to just invest in yourself. I just genuinely could not think of a better use of the money than just becoming more capable as a person. Now, I want to be very real about this. Not every course was worth it. Not every mentorship was a good decision. And I've talked about this before. I spent $250,000 in a single year on self-education. And a lot of what I paid thousands of dollars for, I could have learned from a $20 book, and I could have learned it way better. But here's the thing. I do not regret the one thing, which is the instinct. The instinct to take every single dollar and pour it back into becoming a better operator, a better thinker, a better closer, a better leader. That is what really separated me from every other kid who just made money online and then they just blew it on a lifestyle they couldn't sustain. I knew a guy who made $300K in his first year who was the same exact age as me. And you know what he did? Well, he leased a car, he got an apartment that he couldn't really afford. He started going out every weekend to the club and doing bottle service and all this like bullshit that people do. And within 8 months, he was broke. I'm not talking about, oh, I need to cut back on my lifestyle expenses kind of broke. I'm talking like fully broke. And he went back to working a retail job because he built a lifestyle on top of revenue. And revenue is never, ever guaranteed. Now, at the same time, I was sitting in the same exact room that I've always been in. I didn't move out of my parents' house. I had the same setup. I had the same clothes. And anyone looking at me would have never like known. They would never think, it would never cross their mind that I had made, over $500,000. And it is exactly why I still have to reinvest in myself. So if you're making money right now and you're spending it on things that do not make you better, or they don't make you smarter or make you more capable, you're essentially just building on sand. The lifestyle is the reward that comes after you've built something that can't be taken away, not before. Now, the second thing that I did was something that I didn't even realize was an investment until years later. I used my money and my time to build relationships with people who were way ahead of where I was at the time. And I don't mean networking. I don't mean sliding into someone's DMs being like, hey bro, let's hop on a call and connect. I don't mean joining a mastermind and calling everyone in your group, hey, this is my brother over here and this is a brothership. I'm talking about building real friendships with people who are playing at levels that personally just made me uncomfortable. When I was working with clients on YouTube, some of these guys were genuinely making 10 times, 20 times what I was making. And they were talking about numbers that I just didn't hear about. It's like, what do you mean you made 300 grand in a single month? It's like, it almost seemed like impossible or comical to me. And instead of just, being their service provider, instead of just keeping it professional and transactional, I wanted to actually get to know them as people. I wanted to honestly just get to know them as real people and who they are outside of just guys that pay my invoice. So I would just hop on calls with them and we would talk about life and just goof around. We're not just talking about deliverables and work. And some of these clients, they flew me out. We would stay in the same hotel. We would get food together and be actually good friends. And when we eventually stopped working together, the friendship didn't end. They would still text me years later. They would still ask me for advice and they'll still sending opportunities my way. Now, one of those relationships was someone that I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. And I reached out to him just to check in. And that one message turned into a consulting opportunity that made me 6 figures in a single single month from just 4 phone calls that I hop on. It's just 4 hours of my time and I got paid 6 figures just consulting. Now, that doesn't happen because you're lucky. It happens because 2 years earlier, you treated that person like a human instead of just a regular client. You built something real. And when the moment came, they thought of you. And it wasn't because of your offer or, the great results that you have. It was simply because of who you are. Now, most entrepreneurs are building an audience, followers, subscribers, and look, that stuff matters. But your audience doesn't pick up the phone when your whole business is falling apart. Your audience doesn't hand you a 6-figure opportunity because they trust you as a person. Your relationships do. And the thing about relationships is that you can't buy them with money. You can only build them with time and genuine intention. The money just gave me the ability to put myself in rooms where those relationships were possible. Stuff like conferences and trips and dinners. Again, these things weren't to flex. It was to be in proximity with people who were thinking way bigger than I was. If every business that I run dies tomorrow, I still have a network of people who know me, who trust me, who would work with me again in a heartbeat, in a blink of an eye, right? That's not an asset that shows up on a balance sheet, but it's worth more than anything that does. Now, the third thing is the one that most people are going to dismiss, and it's the most important one by far. I invested in my internal operating system. And I'm not talking about a CRM or a project management tool. I'm talking about the way that I think, the way that I make decisions, the way I regulate my own emotions, my energy, my beliefs about everything, about what's possible, the actual software that is running inside of me. After I hit 500K, I could have just kept grinding. I could have kept taking on new clients. I could have kept scaling the offer. And for a while, that's exactly what I did. But something just wasn't right. I was working, 20-hour days. Like I was stressed. I was miserable. I was waking up at like 6 a.m. after sleeping at 3 a.m. And I was just making decisions from a place of fear and exhaustion instead of clarity. So I took time to actually work on myself. Not in the Instagram self-improvement way where you post yourself taking a cold shower and running every day and you calling it growth. No, I mean just genuinely sitting with myself, meditating in silence for hours every single day, journaling, reading books that challenged the way that I thought about reality, about money, about success, and just genuinely asking myself uncomfortable questions that I would have been too busy to ask. Like, what do I actually want? Not what Twitter wants me to, want, or what would look good on a TikTok or an Instagram reel or whatever. What do I truly want? What does truly success mean to me? And through that process, I rebuilt exactly how I think from the ground up. I changed my beliefs around money, around hard work, around, my identity and who I believed I was and what I believed I was capable of. And to be honest, I'm very curious to see how many of you guys are able to just genuinely sit there in silence for 30 minutes at a time while being fully still. You're not even like moving a single muscle, not even if you're like itchy and it's driving you crazy. These are the lengths that I went to truly build my brain. And again, you don't need me to tell you that even high performers are affected by brain rot and overstimulation. And as the expression goes, garbage in, garbage out. If you can't have your own thoughts for a few minutes during the day, how do you expect yourself to be able to build something truly exceptional that you came up with? And here's the proof that it worked. I went back to zero voluntarily on my own. I fired my team, I gave away my clients, and I started just brand new, fresh. And I rebuilt way faster than the first time that I built my business. I made more money, I worked less, and I was happier than ever. Again, this wasn't because I had a better business model. It's because I had a better operating system. I was a different person, and a different person makes different decisions. They take different actions and they get different results. Most entrepreneurs invest in their business. They invest in their ads, their funnels, their software, and their team. And eventually, every business model has a shelf life. And so they end up with nothing because they never invested in the one thing that survives every business: themselves. Your internal operating system is the only asset that can't be taken away from you. Your business can fail, your audience can leave, your revenue can drop to zero. But the way that you think, the way that you make decisions, the relationships that you've built, the skills that you've developed, all of that stays. And it compounds. Every single year, it gets more valuable. Every year, it becomes harder to replicate. And that's the real reason why I'm not worried about the future. Not because my businesses are just doing well, but because even if they weren't, I would be fine. So yeah, I made 500K by 16 and I spent it all. I spent it on education, on relationships, and on becoming the type of person who can rebuild from nothing. I didn't buy the car, I didn't buy the watches, I didn't take the trips. And I'm telling you right now, that restraint is the single best financial decision that I've ever made. And it wasn't because it was some crazy investment and the money grew, but it was simply because I personally grew. And the money, well, it grew with me. And so if you're making money right now and you're trying to figure out what to do with it, the answer isn't in a brokerage account or in a secret crypto coin that you invest to or in a Lamborghini. The answer is simply becoming someone who doesn't need the money to be valuable. Because someone who can walk into any room, any industry, any situation and create something from nothing, that is literally what 500K bought me. And it was worth every single cent.